Love is said to find you when you least expect it. That is a comforting thought, even romantic. But what if that is not entirely true? What if the real reason the man of your dreams has not yet appeared is not fate playing hide and seek, but something deeper? Something within you that is still closed off. You see, most people think love is a game of chance. Bumping into someone at the supermarket, catching the gaze of a stranger in a cafe, or swiping right on the perfect profile. But luck alone is not the whole picture. The truth that never makes it into romantic comedies is this: love is not luck. Love is alignment, and alignment begins here, with self-awareness. Why self-awareness changes everything. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That is exactly what happens when we skip this step. We continue to attract partners who do not fit us, situations that drain us, and patterns that make us ask, why does this keep happening to me? The answer is simple, but not easy. You cannot attract the right person if you are not yet the right person for yourself. Most people enter relationships with only a vague idea of what they want. They know they want someone kind or someone who makes them laugh, but they have never sat down and defined exactly what love means to them or what they can give in return. Without this clarity, your love life becomes a mirror of your own confusion. This goes deeper than hobbies, job titles, or favorite foods. That is only the surface. Truly knowing yourself means understanding your core values, the principles you will not compromise on. Your emotional needs, what you need to feel loved, respected, and safe. Your true desires, what you really want from life and from a partnership, not what you were taught to want. When you have this clarity, something changes. You stop confusing chemistry with compatibility. You stop chasing people who look right on the outside but feel wrong on the inside. You stop being impressed by shallow charm that only covers a lack of depth. The magnetic power of self-awareness. Self-awareness is magnetic, not in a flashy, attention-seeking way, but in a calm, grounded way that draws people who recognize your worth. It is this quiet self-confidence that says, I know what I have to offer, and I am not afraid to eat alone. That is self-love in action, and self-love is neither arrogance nor ego. It is a healthy sense of self-worth that says, I am complete as I am. Carl Jung also noted, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Why terrifying? Because when you truly accept yourself, flaws, wounds, quirks, you no longer need anyone to fill your gaps. And when you stop looking outside for your completeness, you give potential partners the gift of meeting someone whole. The trap of neediness. Neediness is not just unattractive, it repels exactly the kind of love you truly desire. When your self-worth depends on the approval of others, you unconsciously give away your power. You compromise your boundaries, overlook red flags, try to earn love instead of allowing it. In contrast, when you are rooted in self-awareness and self-respect, you can walk away from anything that does not fit. That is not coldness, that is clarity. You are no longer in relationships because you have to be, but because you want to be. Practical steps to self-awareness. Knowing yourself is not an abstract idea, but a practice. Here are some ways to begin. Identify your non-negotiables. Write down the values and behaviors you will never compromise on in a relationship. For example, honesty, respect, emotional availability. Define your emotional language. How do you give and receive love best? Through words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, physical touch, or gifts. Knowing this helps you clearly communicate your needs. Reflect on your past relationships. Ask yourself, what patterns repeat? What traits attracted me at first, and how did they serve or harm me in the long run? It is not about blame, but about learning. Separate your desires from social conditioning. Are your relationship goals truly your own, or did you inherit them from family, culture, or media? Question every should in your mind. Create a ritual of self-connection. This could be daily journaling, morning meditation, or a daily walk alone. The goal is to regularly check in with yourself. the way you would with someone you love. Why this matters before he comes. If you skip this step, here is what usually happens. You meet someone, you feel a spark, you build your life around him, and months later, you realize he is not right for you. You were attracted to the idea of him or to the feeling he gave you temporarily, not to who he really was. But when you truly know yourself, dating changes completely. You notice incompatibilities early, before your heart is involved. You can express your needs clearly without fear. You no longer chase fleeting attention because you are rooted in long-term alignment. Think of your inner world as a mirror. The energy you carry, the beliefs you hold, and the standards you set. All of this reflects outward. The people you attract are often mirrors of your inner state. If you are unclear, you attract unclear. If you are grounded, you attract grounded. If you are confident, you attract someone who has also done their inner work. That is why self-awareness is not just the first key, it is the foundation on which the other 4 keys are built. Sometimes the work of self-exploration feels uncomfortable. You discover fears you did not know you had, wounds you thought were healed, and beliefs that hold you back. But at the same time, you also discover strengths, desires, and dreams that enrich your life even before anyone else enters it. And here is the paradox. The more you enjoy your own company, the more you become someone others also want to be with. When you no longer search from a place of lack, the right man notices you because your presence feels different. It feels secure. It feels real. Before the man of your dreams can find you, you must find yourself. Not the version shaped to please others, not the version you think is most dateable, but your true self, the one who knows her worth without question. When you stand in this truth, you not only open the door to love, you create an invitation for a partner who meets you as an equal, someone who does not complete you, but enriches you. This is the first step on the journey. Without it, the rest won't hold. With it, you lay the foundation for something rare, beautiful, and lasting. So, you've done the work of getting to know yourself, your values, your needs, your desires. You've looked in the mirror without turning away. That is the foundation. But here is the next step. Be authentic. That sounds simple, obvious. Just be yourself, they say. Yet if it were that easy, we'd all be doing it. The truth, authenticity is one of the hardest things for most people, especially when it comes to love. Why authenticity is so hard? From a young age, we learn, subtly or directly, how to be liked, accepted, and approved of. Maybe you learned to be quiet to avoid conflict, or to smile and agree even when you didn't, or to hide your feelings because they made others uncomfortable. At some point, we became actors in our own lives. Carl Jung put it perfectly. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Think about that. Privilege, not guarantee, not given. Becoming your true self takes courage because it means removing masks you've worn for years. The mask in love. In dating, many people don't show up as they are. They present as the version they believe is most attractive. If they think men want uncomplicated women, they hide their needs. If they think men like a certain type, they adapt. If they fear rejection, they avoid vulnerability. That's survival mode, and it's exhausting. In the short term, it may win attention, but you can't build lasting love on a performance. Sooner or later, your true self emerges, and if it wasn't there from the start, the bond cracks. Authenticity is alignment. Being authentic doesn't mean revealing every feeling on a first date. It doesn't mean exposing every scar right away. It means living in alignment. Your words, actions, and presence match your truth, not what earns approval. Here's where vulnerability comes in. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is strength in full openness. It is the declaration, this is me, the light, the shadow, the in-between. And I trust that the right one will stay. Why vulnerability scares us? Let's be honest. Vulnerability is frightening because it exposes us to rejection. Jung saw this when he said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. We'd rather wear a mask than risk someone seeing our true self and leaving. But here lies the paradox. The mask may protect you from rejection, but it also blocks you from being truly seen and truly loved. The cost of pretending. Pretending to be someone you're not may get you into a relationship, but it will be one you must constantly maintain through acting. That's not love, that's theater. You say yes when you really want to say no. You agree with opinions that aren't yours. You downplay your dreams to avoid intimidating someone. Over time, this leads to resentment. You feel invisible, yet you never gave the other the chance to truly see you. What authenticity looks like in practice. Speak your truth without apology. If something matters to you, say it. If something bothers you, express it respectfully. You don't need to bulldoze with honesty, but you must voice your truth. Share the real, not just the polished. It's okay to admit on a first date that you're nervous. It's okay to say you've had a rough week. Those moments create connection. Stay true to your values. Don't compromise your core beliefs to meet expectations. Authenticity is not about pleasing, it's about living with integrity. Let your personality shine through. If you're quirky, show it. If you're passionate, speak with fire. The right man will be drawn to your real energy, not a performance. The energy shift. Something remarkable happens when you drop the mask. You feel lighter. You no longer waste energy maintaining an image, and that lightness is magnetic. People sense when you're comfortable in your own skin. It builds trust without a word. That doesn't mean everyone will like you. On the contrary, some will leave when you stop playing a role. But remember, they're not your people. Their leaving is a gift. It makes space for those who will truly love you. Attraction versus connection. It's easy to get attention with looks, charm, or a role. But attraction alone isn't connection. Connection happens when two real selves meet. Consider. Would you rather be loved for a version of you that's digestible but false, or for your unfiltered, true self? The first is conditional love. The second is freedom. Carl Jung often spoke of the shadow, the parts of ourselves we reject, hide, or deny. He believed true wholeness comes from integrating the shadow, not ignoring it. In love, that means embracing everything about you, the confident and the insecure, the sweet and the stubborn, the dreams you proudly share and the fears you usually hide. When you embrace your shadow, you stop fearing that someone will discover who you really are, because you already have and you've embraced it. The magnetic effect of realness. Here's the beautiful truth. The right man will be drawn to the energy of authenticity because it's rare. In a world where so many people perform roles, realness is refreshing. He'll trust you faster. He'll feel safer opening up. He'll want to build something deeper because you've shown him depth from the start. Letting go of the outcome. Being authentic also means detaching from the outcome. When you're real, you accept that not everyone will choose you, and that's okay. You'd rather be chosen for your true self than tolerated for a facade. And here lies the irony. The less you try to control how others see you, the more they respect you, because self-respect is contagious. Being authentic is risky, but so is love. And in truth, they are the same risk, the willingness to be seen. When you show up without a mask, you create space for a connection that can't be fabricated. You don't just attract any man, you attract the right one. The one who looks at you unfiltered and says, "Yes, you." Up to this point, you have begun to build the two pillars on which everything else rests. Knowing yourself, your values, your needs, your desires. Being authentic, letting the mask fall, and appearing as you are. Now it is time to build the structure that protects these two pillars. Boundaries. Boundaries are where self-love becomes visible. They are the invisible lines that define where you end and someone else begins. Without them, your emotional world is like an unlocked house. Anyone can walk in, take what they want, and leave chaos behind. The myth about boundaries. Many women fear that boundaries drive people away. I don't want to seem complicated. I don't want to scare him off. I don't want to be alone. But the truth is, the only ones your boundaries scare off are those who intended to cross them anyway. Healthy boundaries do not repel the right man. They attract him. They show that you respect yourself, and the right man will see that as an invitation to respect you as well. Jung and the principle of self-respect. Carl Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Boundaries are the natural result of this acceptance. When you have learned to value yourself, you can no longer tolerate treatment that degrades you. Boundaries are not there to control others, but to regulate your own behavior in relationships. What boundaries really are? Let's be clear. Boundaries are not walls. Walls shut everyone out. Boundaries let the right ones in and keep harmful behavior out. A boundary is simply a guideline that communicates what you accept, what you don't accept, and what you need to feel safe and respected. Why? A lack of boundaries creates chaos. Without them, you say yes when you mean no. You give more than you have until you are drained. You tolerate disrespect, hoping it will magically improve. You make yourself small to fit into others' comfort. Over time, this undermines your self-worth. You feel used, overlooked, invisible, not because others are inherently cruel, but because you never clearly showed them how to treat you. The emotional contract. Every relationship, romantic or not, comes down to an unspoken contract. This is how we treat each other. When you set a boundary, you make this contract explicit. You say, if you want to be part of my world, this is how it works. A man who values you will not only agree, he will welcome it, because healthy people want to know where they stand. Examples of healthy boundaries in love. Time boundaries. I can't talk during my work hours, but after 6 p.m. I'm free. This shows respect for your time and teaches him to respect it too. Emotional boundaries. I'm open to talking about it, but I need you to speak to me respectfully. This protects your emotional safety while still inviting connection. Physical boundaries. I only feel comfortable with physical intimacy once we know each other better. This sets the pace of closeness according to your readiness. Values boundaries. Loyalty is non-negotiable for me. This clearly communicates a deal breaker before it is tested. How to communicate boundaries without fear. Boundaries are not ultimatums. Tone makes the difference. You can set boundaries with firmness and kindness at the same time. Try this 3-step approach. Name the behavior or situation. When you cancel at the last minute, and say how it affects you. I feel like my time is not valued. Express what you need in the future. So I need more notice when plans change. This removes blame and focuses on what you accept. Boundaries as filters. Think of boundaries as your personal sorting system. Once you set them, you see who aligns with you and who doesn't. The wrong man will resist, guilt-trip you, or try to negotiate your non-negotiables. The right man will adapt without making you feel bad. This filtering process saves you time, energy, and heartbreak. The connection to self-worth. Jung also said, if you cannot love yourself, you cannot love another. You will hate others to the degree that you hate yourself. Without boundaries, love turns into self-betrayal. You cannot expect someone to value you if you constantly show them that you don't value yourself. Fear of loss versus fear of self-betrayal. Here's a shift in perspective. The fear should not be, if I set this boundary, I'll lose him. The fear should be, if I don't set this boundary, I'll lose myself. When you act from this second mindset, your love life changes completely. You no longer cling to people who drain you, but create space for those who fulfill you. Practicing boundaries. Boundaries are a skill, and like any skill, they get easier with practice. Start small. Politely decline an invitation you don't want to accept. Take your time to reply to a message instead of feeling pressured to answer immediately. Speak your needs early in dating rather than waiting until resentment builds up. Each time you enforce a boundary, you strengthen your own worth. Boundaries and attraction. There's a myth that being easygoing is more attractive than having clear boundaries. In reality, boundaries create respect and a certain magnetism. When a man sees that you live a fulfilled life, Protect your energy and are not afraid to say no. He understands. Your love is a privilege, not a given. This respect becomes the foundation of a deeper bond. The essence of boundaries. Boundaries are not meant to keep love out. They are meant to keep love pure. They create space for a relationship where both can thrive without violating each other's dignity. When you know yourself, key 1, and are authentic, key 2, boundaries are simply the natural extension of that. They are the immune system of your love. Without them, anything can get in. With them, only the good remains. You have built a foundation by knowing yourself, living authentically, and protecting your peace with healthy boundaries. Now it is time to talk about something that is often misunderstood. Self-confidence, and what self-confidence really is. When most people think of self-confidence, they imagine boldness, loudness, or perfection. Someone who never doubts, never hesitates, and always knows what to say or do. But true self-confidence has nothing to do with loudness or show. It is quiet, steady, and deeply rooted in self-trust. Carl Jung said it beautifully. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. Self-confidence is a choice, a daily commitment to trust yourself, even when things are uncertain, even when the inner critic whispers doubts. The difference between false and true self-confidence. False self-confidence is a mask, a show that hides insecurities. It is the loud laughter, the boasting, the facade of having everything under control, even when that's not true. True self-confidence does not mean being fearless. It means feeling the fear and doing it anyway. It means knowing your worth even when no one applauds. It means standing tall even when the world tries to make you small. Why self-confidence is magnetic? Here's why self-confidence attracts the right love. When you trust yourself, you don't chase validation. You don't settle for less than you deserve. This energy, calm, grounded, secure, works like a beacon. It says, I know my worth. If you don't see it, that's your loss. Men are not drawn to desperate neediness. They are drawn to women who believe in themselves enough to walk away from what does not serve them. Self-confidence is not arrogance. Self-confidence is often confused with arrogance. Arrogance says, I am better than you. Self-confidence says, I am enough as I am. Arrogance diminishes others to elevate itself. Self-confidence lifts others because it is secure. The man of your dreams is not attracted to arrogance. He is drawn to humility, strength, and kindness, wrapped in quiet certainty. How to develop quiet self-confidence, self-awareness. You cannot trust yourself if you don't know yourself. Self-confidence begins with deep self-reflection. What are your strengths? What are your triggers? Which patterns do you want to change? Celebrate small wins. Self-confidence grows in daily life. Maybe today you spoke up for yourself or chose rest instead of pleasing everyone. Celebrate it. These small victories build your foundation. Trust your intuition. Your inner voice is wiser than you think. When making decisions, pause and listen. Over time, acting on your intuition strengthens your self-confidence. Face your fears. Self-confidence doesn't come from avoiding fear, but from confronting it. Every time you act despite doubt, your trust grows. Practice self-compassion. Everyone stumbles. When you make mistakes, treat yourself like a friend. Harsh self-criticism destroys trust. Kindness builds it back. Self-confidence in action in dating and relationships. When you bring true self-confidence into dating, it changes everything. You don't settle for someone who doesn't meet your standards. You don't tolerate disrespect or inconsistency. You communicate openly because you know your voice matters. You're not afraid to say no. That doesn't make you hard to reach, but unforgettable. Jung's view on self-confidence and individuation. Carl Jung's concept of individuation describes the process of becoming the person you are meant to be, integrating all parts of yourself to achieve wholeness. He said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. True self-confidence is born when you embrace your shadow, your fears, doubts, and old wounds, and still choose to move forward. It is a brave act of self-love and courage. The trap: seeking external validation. Many women look for their self-confidence in likes, compliments, or matches on dating apps. But that's a trap. External validation is like a bucket with holes. It never holds for long. True self-confidence can only come from within. When you nurture it, outside opinions become background noise, no longer the foundation of your worth. What happens when you lose confidence? When self-confidence wavers, old patterns creep back. Settling for less than you deserve, apologizing too much, trying too hard to impress, doubting your worth. Recognizing these moments as signals rather than facts helps you correct course in time. Practical tools for everyday life. Empowering affirmations, e.g., I am worthy of love and respect. Journaling about your strengths and progress. Mindfulness or meditation to calm the inner critic. People around you who see your worth and support you. Activities that make you feel alive and competent. Self-confidence is a journey, not a destination. Remember, self-confidence is not a switch you flip once. It is a lifelong process. Some days feel stronger than others, and that's okay. What matters is that you keep choosing yourself, even when it's hard. Self-confidence does not mean never doubting. It means trusting yourself through the doubt. It is the quiet power that signals to the universe and the man of your dreams that you are ready. When your self-confidence is rooted in self-love and authenticity, you no longer chase love. Instead, love runs toward you. So far, we have walked the path of self-knowledge, authenticity, setting boundaries, and cultivating self-confidence. These 4 keys form a strong foundation. But there is another key where many people fail: openness to possibilities. This key may be the hardest because it asks you to loosen the grip of your expectations, question your rigid type or checklist, and trust that love sometimes appears in the most unexpected forms. We live in a world obsessed with control and security. We want to know exactly what is coming, what it will look like, and when it will arrive. Especially in love, it is tempting to draw a detailed map. He must be tall, have a great job, share my hobbies, and live nearby. But what if the universe doesn't follow our plans? What if it brings love in a form we didn't expect? Through a person who doesn't tick all the boxes, but feels right. Carl Jung reminds us that we cannot change anything until we accept it. Judgment does not liberate, it oppresses. Being open means accepting that love may come in a package you never imagined, and that this is not a compromise but an expansion. If you cling rigidly to a list, you filter out countless possibilities. You might reject someone because he doesn't share your hobby. You might overlook his emotional availability because he doesn't fit into your ideal career profile. You might say no too quickly for superficial reasons. This checklist can become a barrier, a wall that keeps the right one out just as much as bad habits let the wrong ones in. Openness does not mean lowering your standards or settling for less. It means letting go of fixed outcomes, trusting your intuition more than your ego, allowing your heart to lead, not just your mind, being curious instead of judgmental, recognizing value beyond appearances and social labels. It is a fine balance, honoring your needs while leaving room for surprises. Jung believed that growth and transformation occur when we turn toward the unknown. When we are willing to embrace paradoxes and complexity, he said, the shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for life that suits all. For love, this means the perfect partner looks different for everyone. What matters is the alignment of souls, not superficial checklists. To develop openness in love, you should question your assumptions, reflect on the reasons for your boundaries. Are they truly non-negotiable or just habits of thought? Did they arise from fear, old wounds, or social conditioning? Be curious rather than judgmental. Ask yourself, What can I learn from this person? How do I feel with him? Listen to your heart and your body. Sometimes the head says no while the heart and body say yes. Be willing to take small risks. Say yes to a date with someone who doesn't fit your ideal, or to conversations you would normally avoid. Some of the deepest and most enduring relationships begin in unexpected ways. The shy man you never noticed suddenly becomes your best friend and soul partner. The man without the perfect job brings you emotional depth and kindness you didn't know you needed. A person from a different background or culture expands your perspective and enriches your life. Love that defies expectations often brings the greatest lessons. Openness without self-knowledge and boundaries can lead to confusion, but when combined with the other keys, it creates a strong energy field. You are clear about who you are and what you will not accept, yet flexible enough to recognize when love looks different from what you imagined and willing to explore it. Love demands a balance between control and surrender. You control your boundaries, your standards, your authenticity. But you surrender to the flow of life, to the mystery of connection, to the surprises that love brings. Jung said, "The hardest thing is to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you someone else." Openness means trusting that when you show up as your true self, love will meet you there, sometimes in unexpected, beautifully imperfect ways. If you close yourself off, it can lead to recurring patterns of disappointment, to loneliness despite dates, to fear of missing out, or to rigid expectations that prevent connection. Being open is not easy. It requires vulnerability and courage, but it opens the door to true love. Ask yourself, am I willing to expand? What expectations or rules am I still holding on to that restrict love? How can I invite more curiosity and openness into my love life? Am I willing to follow what feels right, even if it looks different from my original plan? Being open to possibilities is the final key that unlocks your heart's ability to receive love. It softens the hard edges of expectations and lets love flow freely. When openness meets self-knowledge, authenticity, boundaries, and self-confidence, your energy changes. You stop seeking love and allow it to find you, in forms and faces you never could have imagined. Congratulations on coming this far. You have gone through the 5 keys that can truly change your love story. Deeply knowing yourself, being authentic, setting healthy boundaries, cultivating genuine self-confidence, being open to possibilities. Now, it is about weaving these keys into a daily practice and an attitude that continually nourishes your energy and attractiveness, so that the man of your dreams not only finds you once, but again and again throughout your life. Knowledge alone is not enough. It is one thing to understand the keys intellectually, and another to live them consistently. Jung emphasized integration as the core of individuation, becoming whole. The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for life that suits all. And also, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Integration means bringing what you have learned into your daily reality, shining light on your unconscious patterns so they no longer secretly drive your love life. Begin the day with a brief check-in. Reflect on your values and remind yourself who you are and what you deserve. Set the intention to be authentic. Notice during the day when your boundaries are tested, and remember that saying no is an act of self-love. Celebrate small victories and use positive affirmations. Be curious when meeting new people, and reflect in the evening on where you stayed true to yourself and where you diminished yourself. This constant reflection deepens your awareness and refines your energy. Love and personal growth are not linear. There will be days when you fall back into old patterns or feel insecure. That is normal. Remember then Jung's words, the scariest thing is to accept yourself completely. Self-acceptance, even in moments of struggle, is the root of lasting self-confidence and attraction. Be gentle with yourself. Growth is a spiral, not a straight path.